Hello there. Welcome to the most fun stamping competition in all of the YouTubes. This is the Great American Stampin Show, and you are watching me, Brandy, from brandystamps.com. As you might be able to tell, I was the winner from last week, so that's why I get to wear my crown. This is an ongoing stamping competition where we have a round every single week, and your job is to watch my video plus my 3 competitors whose links can be found in my description, and just click like on whichever video you think is best. Thank you so much for all of your votes last time. This week is episode 5 of season 3, and we are now featuring layout number 5 from the Stampin' Up catalog. So let me show you what that is. For season 3 on the Great American Stampin' Show, we've been featuring these layouts from the Stampin' Up annual catalog. If you don't have one of these, let me know. I'm happy to get this out to you. And if you turn to page 22, there are all of these cute little layouts here. And this is episode 5, so we're on the 5th one over, which is right here. Here's a little bit closer look at the layout. So this is kind of a different looking one. Obviously what stands out first is this diagonal set piece with the little edges. So let's look and see what we can do with this. First off, of course, we're gonna have a card base. So I've chosen basic black here, and that's just this outer piece that's on the bottom of the card. I also have added a layer that is tone on tone. It's also basic black. It's cut just a 1/4 inch smaller both directions, and then it's been embossed with the metal plate 3D embossing folder. So because this is tone on tone, this isn't cheating. It definitely counts, right, you guys? So I'm still just kind of one background layout color, but I wanted to give it a little texture. Now I'm going to attach this to my card background, and I'm going to use mini glue dots because this piece has got so much texture to it. I want it to have an extra grab to hold right onto the card base. So the mini glue dots do that. So there we go. There's our card base. Now for this next layer that's going to go diagonally, I decided to pull out this very cool Oxidized Copper 12 by 12 paper that's in our current catalog. In this package, there are just 2 different designs. There's this one that has copper and blue, and the one that's more just copper tone on tone. You get 4 sheets total, 2 of each type, and I am going to play with this. We'll use both patterns on this card. So I've started out with a piece of the Oxidized Copper paper that is cut, it's about 3/4 smaller both directions. So it's 3.5 by 4 3/4. So you can see it would come in an equidistant amount on all edges, but then we're just going to tilt it like this, almost as far as it will go. The other element we're seeing on here is what we call a banner end or a flagged end across here and here. And I do this all the time on real small pieces, and I swear I'm a pro. But when I tried to do it on this one, I struggled a little bit more. So here are my tips. You would measure and find the middle. Then you would measure upward and make a dot. So you'd probably do this on the back. So you'd find the middle, go a 1/2 inch up, and you'd make a dot. Then you would go with your ruler and make a line that goes from the corner up to the dot on both sides. And you can make your dot as far in as you want, depending on how deep you want that V to be. And then you would just cut it with your scissors. Okay, so no matter how many times I tried to do that, it looked wonky. I'll show you one of my attempts here. So here's kind of how it looked. And it looks crooked to me. It could be because of the pattern on the paper or because of my embossed stuff here. But if the template exceeds your skill level, apparently it exceeded mine, or if you just simply creatively want to alter it, you can make these lines straight. I give you absolute permission to do that. And that is what I did with my card. So again, I'm going to use mini glue dots and use them on all 4 corners. Okay, so that's our next layer. Now our next layer is going to be this kind of a big chunk that would go across here. So for this, I decided to actually make a whole image. So let me show you. I'm working with the Tune In stamp set. This is from our current catalog, and just got this cool classic TV and then some fun images that go along with it, little radio waves or sound waves, got our antenna and so forth in this set. And it also has coordinating dies that cut some of those same kind of fun little images to give it that flair, or it'll cut out some of your stamped images. So Tune In is the bundle that I decided to use. So I'm going to pull in some Crumb Cake cardstock because I'm not thinking of just any old console television. I'm thinking of my console television that I had when I first got married in 1999. This thing was made of actual wood in a huge box. I cleaned it with wood polish. It had terrible reception and terrible picture. The thing was a dinosaur. Even when it was, you know, new to us as newlyweds, my husband had to fight me several years later to get rid of it because I just liked it. It was so classic. And so now this card is going to be a little bit of a throwback to my old console TV. So now I'm going to grab the dies that actually go with the stamp set. And there are two dies. This one's going to cut right around the outside of my TV. And this one will cut out the inside so that I've got a screen. Now, when I put this through my Big Boss machine, I'm actually going to use Post-it notes to hold it in place. So let me show you how I do that. I've just got a regular Post-it note here, the sticky part's right up here, and I am going to place it on my cardstock across the die and onto the project. And that's just so it'll stay right in place as it rolls through the Big Boss machine. There are, I think you can get like magnetic platforms and stuff like that, but I have never liked those as much as just Post-it notes because the magnets will sometimes pull the dies around. Post-its are just, you know, they'll never fail. Call me old school. I am the girl who just spoke out about how much she loved her console TV. So yep, here we go. I'm old school and I'm using Post-it notes to hold my dies in place. So let's go cut that. And here is the adorable image that we've got here. So this is going to be the layer that'll go right over here. Ooh, doesn't it look perfect? It looks staticky like my old TV was. Haha. We're going to give it a different screen though. So let's work on our screen next. For the screen, I'm going to use a window sheet. So these are kind of stiff little completely clear plastic sheets that you can get from Stampin' Up, and you can actually stamp right on them. So I've got my stamp that says "You're Super," and I need a special ink pad. This is called StazOn. It's a black StazOn ink pad, and it's specifically formulated to stamp onto glossy or slick surfaces without washing away. So it'll dry there and then it will stay on. So let's go ahead and ink up our stamp. And when you're doing this, you're gonna press down enough to make the stamp image, but no more than that. Like normally you're used to pressing a lot. If you do that with this, it'll slip. So let's go straight down and straight up, just like that. Now I'm definitely gonna wanna let it dry, so we don't wanna touch it right away. And one thing to keep in mind when you use StazOn ink, you want to clean your stamp as soon as possible. And you're going to use a special cleaner called StazOn Cleaner. Now, if you're using it with photopolymer, which I am, you have to work quick because this cleaner will actually eat away the plastic. Isn't that terrible? So tap it on there and then you're gonna go straight over to clean it off. Little spritz in one corner, scrub it clean, dry it off. This is to the point where I think Stampin' Up even recommends don't use photopolymer stamps with StazOn and StazOn Cleaner. But if you work quick, you can break that little rule, and that's what I just did. What I want to do now is take my TV and glue it over the top so that this is the screen. So I'm going to put some nice Seal Plus all the way around my TV frame here. Okay, so we'll go right about here. And you can see my window sheet is a little bigger than my television now, and so I'll just bring my paper snips and like tuck it behind just a tad. It doesn't matter if this is a little messy on the back. So we'll trim off the extra window sheet. One thing I also want to do is take some of my vanilla large check ribbon. I'm just going to tie a bit around the edge of my TV console here. I've trimmed my ribbon down the center, so this is more like half of a ribbon bit. And ideally, I would have tied it around here before I stuck the screen to it. But since I didn't do that, we'll just use our piercer tool from the Take Your Pick tool, and we will just slide it under here. Just gonna tie this in a little double knot, right over left, left over right. Trim these little guys off pretty short. Need a ton of that showing. And then just give it some pressure so that that adhesive, the Seal Plus, will re-engage there. And it's just like new, just like we never forgot that. So there we go. Okay, so now I've got my cute little TV screen, and I am going to turn this into a little shaker, give it a little something to shake. So now that I have an image with a window and a window sheet on it, I can just flip to the back of this and create some walls. So the way I do that is to use foam adhesive strips. These guys have multiple uses, but they're very good for little shaker cards. We'll just pull one of these strips off. And we'll just go on the outside of the window here so that our little walls won't show. And they actually turn corners pretty well, but I am going to snip it and just restart since it's so close to being a square. And just give it square ends. It's pretty easy to snip it. And then as long as you bump that strip right up against the last one, you won't have any, you know, holes where the shakers can come out. Okay, now what is going to be behind here? You're going to have something that is behind here so that it's not just the static of the TV. And a lot of times I'll do some kind of a stamped image, but this time I'm just using a little chunk of white. So it's just going to be white on the back. And so right here on top of the white, I'm going to put my shakers. So what I want to use are from the die set. We've got this little piece here with the triple star. And then we've also got from the oxidized paper, this fun just copper one without the blue shade. So I'm going to cut that out. I actually cut it 4 times. So I've got 12 little pieces of glitter, static, whatever you want to call that. And you're just going to create a little pile, put it right here on your white paper. Peel all of these. Make sure these are all facing upwards so the pretty pattern paper side is up, because they probably won't be able to flip over once they're inside of here. They'll be able to move around, but they won't flip over. Now we'll do a really nice hard press so that this is sealed on all the edges. And there's my little shakers. And now I'm going to do almost the same thing with my paper snips and just tuck it behind a little bit. You're gonna cut it off messy. We don't wanna harm our TV image at all, but other than that, it doesn't matter really what that looks like as long as the white doesn't show from the front. All right, so if we're looking back at our layout, this TV has now become this large layer right here. So I'm just going to stick it onto my card right about here. And in order to do that, we will flip to the back. I've got this nice flat white layer, and I'm going to give it a hefty dose of Seal Plus. Okay, that ought to do it. And now I'm just placing this about halfway up the card. Something like this. Press, press, press. My TV will stay forever. And there is one more layer here that it's showing, and I've got my bow to kind of help represent that. But let's do one more little bit. Grab a chunk of white. This is my Memento black again. Just ink up the news flash, which is perfect for this card. And I'm stamping it close to the edge here. My idea is just to kind of trim around this by hand. Just kind of doing straight lines pretty close to the words. It's okay if it's not 100% perfect. So I've got my little news flash. I'll put a couple of mini glue dots on the back of this. I'm going to tuck it kind of diagonally up here in the corner. And I have just one more little detail to add here. These are the adhesive backed metallic gems. And they were so perfect because they come in silver, gold, and copper, and I've got kind of a copper tone going on for this card with my black. So I'm just going to pick up one of the smaller ones and make these knobs look a bit more legit. You guys remember changing the channel on these? You'd actually grab the knob and it would go conk, 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 conk as it went around to the different channels. Makes me feel old kind of, and I'm actually not that old, but you know, I did have a TV like this, so whatever, say what you will. This card is going to be perfect. I've been watching Smallville, an old show about Superman. Tell me if you've seen that. Tell me in the comments, are you a fan? My son Drew and I have been watching it together. So to say "you're super" to him as he goes off to college this week, maybe I can tuck a little cash in here for him or something like that. It's a little play on what we've been doing together, and it's a very fun interpretation of layout number 5. Okay, stamping with you guys each week is the most fun ever. I hope you loved making this fun little shaker card and that you love my card. If mine's your favorite, click like. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that. And I will see you back here next week with another fun creative challenge. See you then.